Hey guys, it's Meoang, and today we're going to learn about the Wraith. The Wraith is a stealth-based killer that depends on invisibility and near silence to track down survivors and get the jump on them. By holding the power button for a short amount of time, the Wraith can switch between visible and invisible modes. While invisible, the Wraith is close to invisible, has no terror radius, and has a faster movement speed, but he cannot attack. Survivors near the Wraith will hear a sound whenever he switches between invisible and visible. I want to mention though that while the Wraith is nearly transparent in invisible mode, most survivors will notice you visually and by sound, meaning that the primary benefit of being invisible is that you move faster and have no terror radius. As for how I'd rate the Wraith, I give him an E for meta strength and a C for fun. The Wraith is hard to talk about without bringing up how weak he really is. In my opinion, the Wraith is the most flawed killer in the game because of some glaring weaknesses. Again though, don't let that scare you off. Some people swear by the Wraith and absolutely love his playstyle. Since he's available with the base game and relatively simple to adjust to, a lot of people start out by playing with the Wraith and have a great time with him. Personally, I play the Wraith more than any of the other free killers. The Wraith has a lot of good options when it comes to perks, so rather than mention a specific build, I'll mention several perks worth using. Keep in mind that because of his stealth mechanic, players who are good at tracking down survivors might not need to use any tracking perks. Perks to consider on the Wraith are A Nurse's Calling, Agitation, Barbecue and Chili, Brutal Strength, No One Escapes Death, Ruin, Whispers, Enduring, and Overcharge. With that said, I recommend using Barbecue and Chili as usual, and I want to point out that Enduring is particularly strong on the Wraith because of how weak he is to pallet looping. I'm currently using Enduring, A Nurse's Calling, Whispers, and Ruin, but I would replace A Nurse's Calling with Barbecue and Chili if I had it. As for add-ons, the Wraith can improve greatly by taking advantage of some of them. My favorite add-ons in the Wraith are the Blink and Swift Hunt add-ons, which reduce the time to disappear and reappear respectively. Additionally, the Wraith's Windstorm add-ons increase his movement speed after reappearing, which can make a huge difference. Being successful with the Wraith depends a lot on your fundamentals when it comes to chasing down survivors. On top of that, using your invisibility power effectively will make a huge difference when hunting down survivors and during longer chases. You want to keep in mind that survivors won't be able to hear you coming until you're very close to them, so when you see a survivor, try to stay outside of their direct line of sight until you're close. When you decide it's time to reappear, there are two important things to keep in mind. The first is that you want to reappear in a spot that limits the survivor's escape options. If you can block them from using a ledge, for example, you want to reappear in front of it. The second thing is that survivors will often sprint burst away when you start to reappear, so sometimes it's worth it to cancel reappearing and keep chasing them while invisible until their sprint burst wears off. In the middle of the chase, if a survivor builds a lot of distance between the two of you, it's usually worth it to turn invisible again just to catch up. The increased movement speed will make a big difference if the chase was long enough. With all of that said, the Wraith has two huge weaknesses that you need to keep in mind while playing him. The first is that he's terrible at dealing with pallet loops. You just have to deal with it and keep chasing the survivor. The second is that flashlights will stun the Wraith while he's invisible, meaning that if you're in a lobby with several flashlights, you might not want to use the Wraith. Other than that, doing well with the Wraith just depends on how well you do with killers in general. His power isn't flashy or game-changing, so a lot of your success will come down to fundamentals. To demonstrate what we've learned, I've included a full Wraith game that I played recently. This game is particularly notable because it was against a full Survive with Friends team who were using flashlights. If this video has helped you, or you'd like to learn more about the other killers and playing killer in general, consider subscribing. More of these killer tutorial videos are coming shortly. The playlist for these tutorials will be in the video description as well as at the end of the video. Thanks for watching guys, and enjoy the gameplay.